Hello everyone, it's Sarah the Urban Farm Gal, and today we're making chili verde. I specifically planned this week's order around this meal. So with our CSA share, we got tomatillos, we got a mixture of hot peppers, and we got a little bit of corn. And we had onions last week, so we have almost everything we need to make chili verde. Here is what I have done so far. I have a half pound of navy beans that I soaked overnight, and then this morning before I left for the pickup, I put them in my crock pot with about a quart of water, and I cooked them on high until about 2 in the afternoon. And most of them are almost done, but they're not quite done, so they're gonna get about another half hour to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour of cooking, and then they should be perfectly tender for the chili. So that was the first thing I did to prep for this meal. The second thing I did is I pulled all of my peppers and blistered the skin on my stove. And I don't have a gas stove, so I just set them directly on the burners and turned it on about medium-high and blistered it. I put them in a plastic bag to let them steam, and that will kind of help loosen up the skins. I can tell I didn't loosen all of them, so the entire skin isn't going to peel off the pepper, but that's okay. So for this recipe, I've got, I think, 1 poblano pepper, and so these are the large green ones that we got. These are the ones that they use to make chili rellenos. Then we also got some Anaheim peppers. The Anaheim peppers are narrower. They're also a lighter green color, and they're a little bit longer. I've got 2 Anaheims here, and then I have 3 fairly large jalapenos. So I'm gonna skin all of these as much as I can, and then chop up the flesh so that it's ready to go into the chili. I went ahead and chopped up my onions. So this was about it was a pretty good sized onion. There's probably 1.5 to 2 cups of onion in here. So I've diced this up, and then I also have about a half tablespoon of garlic. So I'm going to throw this into my stock pot back here on the stove, and then I'm going to finish prepping the peppers. All right, my onions and garlic are on the stove. I've got them on about medium heat, and I'm gonna start by pulling the skin off of these peppers as much as I can. And where it's blistered, the skin should peel off fairly easily. You can do this in the oven, but it is so hot here today, there is no way I'm turning on my oven. I think the thermostat says it's 82 degrees in my house. We don't have air conditioning, so all the fans are going. So if you have a gas stove, you can hold these over the flame and rotate them and let them blister well. Or you can do what I did. You could also do them on the grill. I was feeling kind of lazy. It's so smoky outside. I don't really want to go outside either. For most of the pepper, the skin is not going to peel off. That's okay. I'm okay with that. So after I peel the skin off of these, I'm going to slice them and I'm going to de-seed them. Probably save a few of the seeds just to add a little bit of heat to the chili. And then I'm going to chop up the flesh and put it in this bowl. All right, I am almost finished chopping the last of the peppers. As you can see, I've got a lot of peppers in this bowl, or a lot of chilies. Imagine that, a chili with chilies. Okay, so all of my peppers are diced up and ready to go into the pot. I just added a few minutes ago my beans and 4 cups of water, and they've been simmering for almost 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my peppers and let them begin to kind of soften up a little bit more. Peppers are in, so now I'm gonna finish prepping the tomatillos. In this week's share, we got just under a pound of tomatillos. If you're not familiar with tomatillos, they are related to tomatoes, and they come in this little wrapper. So they're kind of a unique sort of fruit. And they have a sticky residue on them, so you'll want to wash them really well after you peel the husk off. This one's still a little sticky, and that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just part of the character of the tomatillo. And then you're just going to dice these up into small pieces and add them to your pot here shortly. So most of the tomatillos we got this week are green. and that's definitely the most common color of tomatillo. But some tomatillos They're actually purple. And these are fine to add in with the green ones. They taste similar. They might taste a little sweeter actually than the green ones. So you may or may not have gotten a purple one this week. They weren't that abundant in the shares. So the tomatillos are prepped and they're gonna go in next. And then I also have about half of a very large green bell pepper that I've diced up, and also the corn kernels off of one corn cob that I sliced off, and that's going in here as well. As for spices, I have about a half tablespoon of some chive. There is about a teaspoon, maybe a scant teaspoon of some smoked paprika. I just like kind of that smoky flavor, so I decided to throw it in. There's only about a half teaspoon of salt going into this because I'm actually going to be adding some ham, and it's already well salted, so I'm really dialing back the salt. If you're gonna leave this vegetarian, or if you're gonna add chicken or something else like that that doesn't have salt added to it already, then you'll probably want to bump the salt up to taste. And then I've got about 2 teaspoons of ground cumin and 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. So I'm going to throw this in just a minute. Then last we're going to add a tablespoon of lime juice, just for a little kick. And then I'm actually going to be making, to serve with the chili, some homemade corn tortillas. I do not buy the corn tortillas in the grocery store anymore. They're so gross. They're dry and stale and really brittle, and they taste terrible. So if you've never made your own corn tortillas, and I just started making corn tortillas I think last year, they're very easy to make. Get yourself a bag of this masa, and it's cornmeal, but it's not like regular cornmeal like you would make corn muffins. This has been treated with lime, not this kind of lime, different kind of lime. So this has been limed, and it like peels off the outer coating of the corn and leaves a nice soft inner part of the corn, and then they grind it down. It makes a really nice soft meal. So what you get is, you can see it's kind of a nice crumbly texture, but it'll hold together when you press it into a ball, and that's exactly what you want. So I don't have a tortilla press. I just use the bottom of a flat pan to press it out between sheets of wax paper or plastic wrap or whatever I have. Okay, let's take a look at this. That's looking nice and verdant, hence the chili verde. Okay, so in here we've got the onions, the garlic, the 3 kinds of chili peppers, and the beans. And I want this to cook at least another 10 or 15 minutes to try to soften up those beans. I'm gonna go ahead and add in all the spices. So this is the chives, the smoked paprika, the salt, the cumin, and the ground coriander. In we go. This is one of my favorite parts because it means my house is gonna start smelling like chili really soon. I mean, it already smells like chilies, but now it's gonna start smelling like spicy chili. And while I've got this lid off, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the tomatillos. So in they go. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the corn and the bell pepper. Stir this all together. Oh my gosh, this is a huge pot of chili. So lid's going back on. We're gonna let this cook another 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll check on it. All right, let's check this. It's actually been closer to a half hour. I checked it after about 10 or 15 minutes, and it looked like it needed a little more time. So I let it simmer a little longer, but this is looking really good. The veggies are starting to break down and soften. So that looks good. Now it's time to add the ham. And this was a humongous ham steak that my butcher actually had to chop in half so he could fit it into the sealing bag. So we're talking probably 4 cups of cubed ham here. And I'm just gonna stir it in and let it kind of heat through. And now we're also gonna stir in our lime juice. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon. You can freshly squeeze your lime if you prefer. Since they're not in season, I didn't feel like buying one, and I use enough lime juice that sometimes it's just nice to have the bottled stuff on hand. I'm also gonna grab some cilantro out of the freezer. And since this is frozen, I'm gonna go ahead and add it. So I'm gonna pull out, this is about a tablespoon sized clump of chopped cilantro. Let's do another maybe half tablespoon. So I like cilantro. If you're one of those unfortunate people that has the gene that makes cilantro taste like soap to you, I am so sorry. Stir it all up. This smells really good. Okay, lid back on, simmer, another 5 minutes or so. Alrighty, let's take a look. That looks nice. Oh, yum. This smells so good. Oh yeah, that is good. So I'm gonna move this off the heat, and then I'm gonna put my big cast iron skillet on the stove so I can start cooking my tortillas. And since you're here, if you want to stick around, I can show you how I make my tortillas. Big skillet. Rogue pepper. That was looking hot. So throw that on there. And what you're going to look for is these edges are going to curl up a little bit and dry out. And then when they do that, they're ready to flip over. Okay, you can see like back here, this edge is starting to curl up a little bit. These tortillas that I make, since I don't have a press, they're a little thick. So this side might not curl up, but that is starting to curl up and look dry. So I'm going to flip it over. So once you flip it over, let it cook for another 2 minutes or so on the other side, and then you're going to pull it off and you're going to put it inside a folded over tea towel, and that will trap the steam in there and it will keep them soft while you cook the other ones. So this one's fine. We're going to raise it up, put it in our towel, and then add our other one. So next up, plop it in the center. This is just a dry skillet. There's no oil or anything like that on there. We're not creating tortilla chips, so you don't want to put any oil in here. Just the tortillas cooking on a nice dry, this is a well-seasoned cast iron skillet, but it's not oily. Okay, so are you ready for the final verdict on this chili verde? I gotta say, it's pretty tasty. I'm just gonna throw a few pumpkin seeds in there, take a little bite, like for the 5th or 6th time. Home run. So I can taste that lime juice. It adds a subtle little sweetness in there, along with the really incredibly sweet corn. It really just kind of draws all the flavors out. It's so good. Please do yourself a favor and make this. And my plate of tortillas. Look at this. They're all nice and soft after they came off the skillet because I left them in my little towel. So I'm going to serve tortillas with my soup tonight, and it's going to be fantastic, and I hope you make this because it's super good. Okay everyone, until next Tuesday's pickup, I hope you have a wonderful week. Make this chili, or if you're in the neighborhood, you can come over for dinner tonight, I suppose. No, don't do that. It's too hot in my house and I haven't cleaned. Okay, well, until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week and enjoy your fresh produce from the CSA. It's hot. Holy cow, it's hot. Your ham is almost done. Yeah, and you get some ham. Literally sweating. Like, can you see the little glistening beads of sweat up here? Yeah, it's hot. You have to do yourself a favor and make this. Do it. Make it now. Or when it's cooler, like in 4 months. It's freaking hot. Oh, it's so hot. Use your fennel and apples to make a pork shoulder roast in the crock pot, or a chicken or something. Fennel and apples. Good pairing. And I don't know what we're gonna order next week, but it'll be a big surprise for everybody when you get to the pickup. Unless you're checking Facebook, because we always post on Facebook.